So hello and welcome. I am Enrico Camirinelli, industry analyst at 11 Blockchains. And today we have the pleasure of having with us Genevieve Leveille, principal founder and CEO at AgriLedger. And this will be a very quick conversation on Genevieve's opinion about blockchain. And also we will have from her great advice on how to build your personal success using blockchain. So Genevieve, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Enrico. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. So 11 Blockchains is the world's leading online independent global network for enterprise blockchain practitioners. So the reason of this quick conversation is to, again, reiterate that we do not sell blockchain. So the objective is not to convince you of the beauties of blockchain, but rather to understand what this technology can do for you. And this actually will be expressed by Genevieve, and she will share her experience and her precious advice. So, first question for you, Genevieve, what is your interest in blockchain?
For me, blockchain is really a tool. I would call it a building block to the foundation toward achieving trust and creating a much more balanced and equitable world, one where everyone can participate without having to be fully present during the transactioning or what's happening. So we have talked a lot, we hear a lot about what are called the 4IR, the industrial revolution, the new industrial revolution. I think this is the bedrock of it. As a world, we now function where we are very distributed, and this is the beauty about this is distributed data, but data which is not owned by one person, and then allows everyone to be able to have their own outcomes without feeling compelled to have intermediaries which are checking every single step.
Yeah, great, thank you. So we are very appreciative of you, sharing with us in a generous way your time today. Can you tell the listeners, how did you come to know about 11 Blockchains?
So I have been following 101 Blockchain actually for a while and looking at the classes and hearing very positive things from individuals who have taken your course. And actually, I'd like to report one of my team members on his own volition has also decided to take the course with you. But I was introduced to you by Laura Di Giovanni, yes, because you guys look to create a platform around women in blockchain. So I participated in that conference about a month ago, I believe. The days are running into each other. But what I appreciated from that was the caliber of the speakers that you brought on and the thought leadership that was being brought on. And I had been listening to some of your conferences, and it is not, just about the technology, but what are the processes, what are the pain points in the business world that one is trying to solve. And it's a great thing to also see venerable organizations such as FedEx come in and talk about how the use of this technology can help them in streamlining their process.
Yeah, indeed. And actually, this is a very good segue to the next question. So if you want to also spend a few words about, let's say, your personal activities with your initiatives in using blockchain. So the question is, why have you thought of blockchain to grow your personal success? If you want also to spend a few words so that listeners will know, what you are doing and your mission.
Yes. So for many years, my role in organization has been what I would almost call the whisperer, in that I allowed, and if one does not know what a whisperer, I'm talking to whisperer in the native Indian standpoint, where you have this sieve looking thing, which is the communication between the world that we live in and the other world. And that idea was than to look at this technology. So when I started looking at the technology about 4 years, 2016, 4 years ago, actually 2015, I was very enthralled, not from a financial standpoint, because I had been working in banks and financial services, banking, treasury for many years. And I knew that transactions do not happen because they happen because there's been an event and now there's an obligation that needs to be fulfilled or an agreement to be fulfilled. So therefore, being able to be assured that that event has occurred is what's important. And it's really about also, when we talk about supply chain, it's really not about the supply chain. So a lot of talk lately have been that the supply chain has been proven not to be broken by COVID. I disagree with that. The supply has not been broken, but the value chain has been broken. So what I am doing is I am addressing value chain. Value from what is something worth, what does something incur, and also how does it affect the individual which is buying it. So what choices does it give you and what information does it give you, and can you trust that information? So we are doing a project right now. And for me, when I looked at that, I realized, well, it's about an asset transfer, an asset escrow, and a asset distribution. And through that, you have different intermediaries. And how do you incentivize the intermediaries to do what is necessary? And how do you then empower everyone throughout the value chain by reducing the risk? So with AgriLedger, we're working with the government of Haiti, implementing it for mango farmers and really mango producers. And I would say these are people who are producing something in their backyard, but they have an opportunity through this to become much bigger and also to have a fairer and more equitable proceed. And what, I love fair trade, but what fair trade is not able to do is equitable distribution, because when it moves from one party to the other, you're not able to demonstrate where did that chain start. And that chain of custody becomes very important. And this is why I said it's so important to just not look at the blockchain. What's important there is identity. Identity has been going on for the last 25 years, but now there's a fundamental need and opportunity to bring it with this bedrock. It's like building a house. You've got to put cement and make sure that things are steady. And that is also why, for me, enterprise blockchain is very important, because we need to have the right security. We have to have the right metrics in there. And then you also need to build all around it what is necessary.
Yeah, very good points. When I started looking at blockchain, there was, I would say, general mantra that was that blockchain is a solution looking for a problem. I would rather say that you have very clear what the problems were, and perhaps the technology was not, the pre-blockchain, say, technology was not sufficient to resolve those problems. So very good points you make. The last question is, based on your experience, based also on the limits that still, we know that are in this technology, but the more mass adoption it has, the wider, the faster these problems can be resolved. So what is the advice that you can give on using blockchain as an enabler for personal success? So what will be the advice you would give to the listeners of this conversation?
To me, it is not about the technology. It's about, as people said, it was a technology looking for a problem. There are problems which we need to resolve, and those problems have been exacerbated in the last 3-4 months with the global pandemic. And this is what we have is lack of trust, and trust sometimes is, I have information, I fear that releasing it to you will cause me undue. So in terms of people's success, I think one should not focus on the technology, but rather how can you be a change maker? And a change maker is not just the person who's building the technology, but is the person who's looking at the process and saying, what is deficient here? Where are there broken trust? And how do I then create a mechanism by which everyone can participate and get their due return? So going back to the process we're doing in Haiti, it's not just about the technology, it's about the education, it's about the change management, it's about the understanding the incentive that you need to build across each participant so that they feel empowered and also become part of it. So to me, everyone has a role to play. And I see this very much like SAP at the beginning. I remember in the 80s when SAP started, everybody wanted to be an SAP consultant. But that was very limited because you had to be finance and you had to be a tech person. And if you weren't in those two, you maybe was a salesperson. With this, we have the opportunity of solving major deficiency in the world. However, this is not about doing pie in the sky. You need to build something which has resilience. So I am totally for people doing things like, let's say, it's like drawing on a scratch paper. A painter, before he does his masterpiece, will draw many different versions of it and then finally put it on the canvas. And sometimes that canvas will have other things, so you layer on top. So from a personal success, I think individuals should be looking at what they do well and then seeing how they can apply that to the technology or the movement, I would say. It's not technology, it's a movement.
Very good. Okay, so Genevieve, thank you for your time today. Very much appreciated.
Thank you.